Welcome to Cozy Costume Creations. Today I'm at home and I'm going to teach you how to hem some pants because I am 5'2 3/4 and yes, the 3/4 matter because I'm a costumer and we are precise with our measurements, right? Precision matters. So 3/4 of an inch, right? Anyway, but that is shorter than the average woman in the country that I live in. So I need to hem my pants a lot, like almost all of them. I am really grateful that there are some companies now that actually make pants for short people. The only problem is I don't always like the pants that they make. So that's why we've got some great alterations, and so I got these cute pants, but I am gonna drown in them. So I'm going to teach you how to hem pants, and we're going to do this. This is a by hand method. There are a few other methods you can use. This is probably the simplest by hand. You can use a blind hem stitch on a machine, so that's an option as well. I'm going to teach you how to hem with hand stitching. So this is for my short girls. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is mark where my new hem should be, right? And in a perfect world, you have a person who can, take some pins and use them on you. And you should wear shoes. It's best if you're wearing shoes that are the ones that you would typically wear with that pair of pants. So I'm going to mark that on myself. So I've got my pants, and for me, my new hem sits at 6 inches from the old hem. So I've gone ahead and I've used my water-soluble pencil that I know will come out. So these I trust, the Clover brand. They're really awesome. They're my favorite. I use them all the time, and I go through them like candy. I have gone ahead and I do like to mark my hems on the outside. If I'm gonna mark a hem, usually what I'll do is I'll actually just mark the cutting line, and then I'll measure up from there. But for my own personal stuff, while I'm at home with a pencil I know will wash out, I'm fine with doing this. This will make it easier for later when I have to fold on this line. So this will be my fold line, and that'll make things just like a little bit crisper, cleaner there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to mark my cutting line from this one. So from this, I'm going to mark 1.5 inches. Or alternatively, if you didn't do this line because you're scared that it might not come out, that's fine. I did 6 inches, and because I want like 1.25, so I want 1.25. So I can just scoot this guy down 1.25 inches and do 4 3/4 inches and mark from there. And that is my cutting line. So that's where I cut, and this is where I fold. If you make a mishap, you can hash out your line, or you can kind of rub it to go away. There are erasers for fabric pencils, so that's an option. So I'm measuring 4 3/4 inches from the bottom, and then I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing, and do the same thing on both legs. So I have marked both sides, and what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to start at the seam to cut. Whoop, whoop. Fold it nicely, cut in just a little bit, and then I'm going to grab just this top layer, and I'm going to cut. You do want to cut this one layer at a time for the sake of precision. So you're going to get a nice, beautiful, even hem, and you won't have to worry about messing that up. And I'll just sit it back down. There we go. Beautiful. Chopped off my excess hem, and now I am ready to serge this so that it will have a nice, beautiful finished edge. So, next step, serging. Alright, so we've got our hem, we've got our hem marked, and then we've got our cutting line where we're going to head and cut off that excess fabric. Now we're going to run this through the serger. Just clean up those edges just a little bit while also finishing them. So we've got this nice, beautiful, finished, clean edge. Awesome. Lovely serged edge. Alright, let's get on over to our iron. What I'm going to do here is just fold it along my beautiful line and iron. So I'm going to iron and I'm going to pin from the inside of the garment. Alright? Awesome. So now we have our hem ironed, and I can check from this side just to see if there's any of that pink showing through, if I got it maybe a little bit messed up. It looks really good to me. Yeah. This is also why I draw that line before I cut, because you're bound to cut a little bit unevenly and then you're serging a little bit too. So it's a little bit more precise to mark that before you cut and serge. So there you go. Now it's pinned and we're ready to stitch. Alright, so there are so many different ways that you could hem this. One that I like and do a lot also is if I fold this 1/4 inch over and I stitch that down here, and then I pin all the way around with this folded edge, and then I would do a slip stitch, and that's really great. If I don't do that though, if I just leave it as is, I'm going to do a catch stitch, and this, I like this because it reduces bulk where you just see this sort serging. If you want a little bit more professional look on the inside, then turn it over a 1/4 inch stitch and then do a slip stitch. It's more steps, but it has a cleaner look on the inside. However, this reduces bulk, so if you're doing like a skinny leg, I definitely would recommend this method so you don't have the extra bulk of that 1/4 inch all the way around, right? So yeah, let's move on. Alright, let's do a catch stitch. Catch stitch is also called cross stitch. I don't like to call it cross stitch because cross stitch is a type of embroidery, and so I think it's confusing for it to have the same name. And if it has another name, let's just use the name that is not the one that also refers to something else. So there's that. So catch stitch. I am going to use Silamide thread. As per usual, this is our beautiful, most fabulous waxed thread that is the best for hand sewing. As you can see, I don't have a great thread match. And with thread matches, we always want to go darker rather than lighter. But for me, darker rather than lighter in this case would be like maroon or black. So this is the one we're going to use. So there you go. Here's my thread. Maybe when I'm rich and famous, I will be able to afford thread that matches my projects, but not today. Alright, so I've threaded my needle, and I'm going to do a single thread, right? So I'm going to leave a tail. I'm not going to double my thread. We double thread for projects that we want to stay really secure. So something that we need to be really strong, really secure, we're going to double our threads. For something we want to be invisible, we're going to use single threads. And this we want to be invisible because we are going to stitch this so that there are going to be little pinpricks visible on the outside. And so we want to make those as invisible as possible. And if we have double thread, it's twice as visible than a single thread, right? All right, so I would start at the seams. And I'm actually going to do a whip stitch at my seams. I think that just makes it a little bit stronger. This is a me thing. This isn't an anybody else thing, I think. But I like to whip stitch at my seams because then I can just kind of strengthen it up there. So I got these nice strong stitches that are a little bit more secure. And now we're going to move on to the catch stitch. All right, catch stitch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go just like a little bit up, and I'm going to grab a single flippin' thread. Do you see that? I've caught a single thread. I'm going to go this way. And then I'm going to come into my fabric down here and grab like 1/8 of an inch section of that. Now I'm going to come up and I'm going to do the same thing. I am going to grab just a single flippin' thread. And this will make stitching that is virtually invisible on this side. Can you see where I stitched? You can kind of, because there's pressure there, right? So you can kind of see that there's one here and one there. But you see no thread, right? So it's a really great, really beautiful hemming stitch that we love for hand hemming. It's a little bit hard to see since, you know, my thread is virtually the same color as my serging thread. But you're building up kind of an X pattern, which is why it's called a cross stitch sometimes. And you want to try to keep your distance between pretty consistent. And the size of your catch stitch, when you catch here, pretty consistent. I'm doing 1/8 of an inch. So I'm trying to keep those pretty much the same. And then you just do this the whole way around the garment. And that's that. Here's a different garment that shows a little bit better what this stitch looks like. So after this, I'm going to iron this, and I want to iron it from the inside because if I iron it from the outside, it'll kind of show this crease. It'll kind of fold into that, and I don't want that. So you always iron from this side, especially when you want things to be invisible. That's also why we started ironing from this side rather than that side. That side. So there you go. It's so beautiful, right? Look, it's invisible. Anyway, so that's kind of cool. Alright, our hems are done, and I ironed it from the inside like this. And that's going to make it sit just a little bit nicer. And then, from the outside, you can see just those tiny little pinpricks here and there. But virtually invisible, right? Especially in theater, when your audience is far away, no one will ever know. So yeah, really great technique. I love it. It's a good tool. It's a good technique to know. So now let me put it on. What? Pants that fit? Wow. Now we're done. Yeah, this is something that's pretty easy. It only takes about an hour. But yeah, now I'm not drowning in my pants anymore, and I can wear them and not trip all over them. So there you go. I hope you had fun.